welcome to another episode of the At the Pylon podcast alongside Chandler Betts. My name is Nick Antonakis. Chandler, we are previewing a Christmas Eve matchup between the Patriots and the Broncos. How excited are you?
On the first day of Christmas that my true love gave to me, Caleb Williams or Drake May, please.
That is probably atop the Patriots Christmas list right now, Chandler, and we appreciate
Yeah.
your caroling in these dark times of being a Patriots fan.
Oh yeah.
Applause for Chandler, everybody.
Light
Good
in the
job.
darkness. Light in the darkness.
But I mean, Chandler, regardless, although that's the gift that many members of Pats Nation want this Christmas, the Patriots are getting a different gift in the form of a very long injury report heading into this game against the Broncos. We won't waste any time. Let's get into the preview, starting off with that extremely long injury report, shall we?
Go for
So
it.
here we go. Starting off the top. Hunter Henry, in knee injury, didn't participate both Wednesday and Thursday. Same for Connor McDermott, except with a concussion. Still no participation on Wednesday or Thursday. Jabril Peppers, a superstar on defense for the Patriots all season long, dealing with a hamstring injury, did not participate all week. Ramondre Stevenson in the same boat, not participating all week, still with his ankle injury. Christian Barmore was limited for the first time with a shoulder injury. He's been having a breakout year, especially against the Chiefs. He had a great game. So that's a big blow if he was to sit out this weekend, but still participating limited wise for the first two practices this week. Juwan Bentley, knee injury, limited. Trent Brown, ankle and hands, limited. Jonathan Jones, knee injury, limited. Matthew Slater, hamstring, limited. Juju Smith-Schuster, ankle injury, limited. Jelani Tavai, ankle injury, limited. Cody Davis, an illness, he didn't participate. Anthony Jennings, illness, didn't participate. And Tyron Wheatley Jr., a knee injury, full participation.
That last
Wow.
one's huge.
That last one I think is a game breaker, Chandler.
Yeah. You know that one guy in SpongeBob who's like all taped up and is like, my
Yeah,
leg. Yeah,
yeah.
that's literally us right now. This is a whole lot of coal to stay inside the Christmas spirit. Um, this is not looking good. And not that it was looking good even if our players were healthy, but this is really not looking good.
Yeah, and heading into this game, I mean, when you look at the few bright spots, Chandler, from the Patriots these past couple weeks, you look at guys like Jabril Peppers,
Yep.
Ramondre Stevenson, even though he's been out a past couple weeks,
Mhm.
Christian Barmore, Hunter Henry, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yep.
All these guys on the injury report, and most of them, except Christian Barmore, not participating in Wednesday or Thursday's practice. So heading into this Sunday football game or Sunday night football game on Christmas Eve, it doesn't look like Henry's going to play. Doesn't look like Peppers is going to play. Stevenson is still kind of on the cusp, but I'd say probably we're going to rule him out again. That's a big blow, especially going against a very hungry team in the Denver Broncos who absolutely need the win this weekend, huh?
Yeah, it's key. I think there will probably be one team in the AFC that's going to be that 9-8 team that makes the playoffs, just considering how close that division and the conference is right now. But it's wild to think that earlier in the season this Broncos team was what 1-5 and the Chiefs were 5-1, and now it's what 8-6 and 7-7, which is crazy. The Broncos being 7-7, of course, meaning that if they win out, they're in. And this is a nice jumping off point after a tough loss to the Lions for them to win out.
Yeah, and we'll get into the Broncos in a second, Chandler. But speaking of records, the Patriots obviously standing now at 3-11, thanks to their loss last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. In terms of draft positioning, the Patriots are currently selecting second overall in the NFL draft in
Yep.
2024. The only team ahead of them right now is the Carolina Panthers. They don't even hold their first round pick. It's going to the Bears as the Panthers stand at a record of 2-12. So only one game back of first overall. Following the Patriots, obviously the Arizona Cardinals, they're 3-11 as well. Washington Commanders in fourth at 4-10. And then the Chicago Bears, with their actual draft pick this year, standing at a record of 5-9. So heading into this weekend, Chandler, like you said at the top of the episode in very beautiful song format, a lot of things that the Patriots want this offseason center around the 2024 NFL draft. As hard as it is to want to cheer for your team to lose week in and week out, it seems like this game would do wonders at the Patriots to take the L.
I mean, of course it would, and especially if the Panthers could come out with a win. Even that isn't going to be enough because the strength of schedule uh, is a lot. It's not a lot. They have
Only
a point.
0.002% difference.
Yeah, but that's probably not going to get any better for Carolina, considering that they have two more division opponents, and their division is, I believe, all under 500.
I
I
think
think.
so. Nobody's above
Um,
500, I don't think.
yeah, nobody's above 500. I'm checking right now. Actually, they are all below because of the Saints losing
Ah,
last
last
night.
night. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
so they are all the entire NFC South is below 500. So that is not going to help the strength of schedule because that's just going to push everything down, of course. Um, and the lower strength of schedule, the better pick you get. Um, because if you lose to better teams, theoretically you're a better team, I guess. I don't know. I wish we could just play Carolina so we could lose. Um, but it is tough. It sucks to be like, I want us to lose. Um, but it would do a lot of wonders. I don't want us to lose because we're playing on Christmas Eve. This would be the it's such a horrible gift to just be like, oh yeah, what are you gonna do on Christmas Eve? You're gonna, go to a party, you're gonna go out with friends? No, I'm gonna watch the 3-11 Patriots lose by 35. That's not my prediction. But it's gonna stink. We're gonna watch Russ cook, and hopefully, watching Russ cook will encourage people to cook good food for Christmas.
Now, talking about the Broncos a little bit more, Chandler, as you said, they're 7-7, only trailing one game behind the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are in first in the AFC West at 9-5. Broncos at 7-7. As you said, if they win this game, it'll do wonders for their season in terms of trying to qualify for the playoffs. And following this game against the Patriots, which you could consider a pretty easy game in the grand scheme of things, they have two more back-to-back contests that honestly I could see them winning both. First, they have the Chargers the following week on New
Yeah,
Year's Eve, and
the
then
dead
against the
Chargers.
Raiders in the
Those are
last week of the
two. Those
season.
are two backup quarterbacks.
Yep, literally.
They got
And
three backup quarterbacks for the rest of the season.
and from that perspective, the Raiders obviously I'd at least consider giving them a little bit more weight in that matchup than the Chargers, as they've started to
Yep.
kind of piece things together ever since firing McDaniels. That still doesn't solve really the problem, like you said, at the quarterback position. So obviously a
Yep.
very big game for the Broncos if they can get this win against the Pats this week.
Yeah, shout out to Purdue for Aiden O'Connell, of course, the current Raiders quarterback. But this is a blessing for the really, really hot, even though they did lose. The Broncos are hot right now. They started the season on doing they were the team that lost that let 70 up this year
Yeah.
to the Dolphins. And since what, week 7, they beat the Packers, beat the Chiefs, beat the Bills, beat the Vikings, beat the Browns. That's a really good stretch. And then they've been a little bit cold since then. So this is their time where they really do need to get back. And going against uh, Bailey Zappi, Easton Stick, and Aiden O'Connell is a pretty good way to do that and lock yourself into the playoffs and make this Russell Wilson trade, which last year was frankly a monstrosity, make it somewhat worth it. Because they could have had, I don't remember what pick it was, but they were not good last year, the Broncos.
Yeah, and when you look at the playoff picture in the AFC right now, Chandler, oh my god, I just had it. Oh, there we go. Um, Sitting at the top of the division, obviously the Chiefs, as we said, it's going to be tough to catch the Chiefs in that race for the division. So they're most likely looking at a wild card spot.
Yep.
They'd have to fight with the Browns. They currently sit at 9-5. Why won't this load?
The
Oh,
Browns are 9-5. The Bengals being eight
there
and
we go. Yep.
six.
Bengals 8-6.
Yep.
And then the Colts at
Jacksonville.
8. Yeah.
Because that's a
Wait,
crazy
what?
division.
I thought
Houston,
Jacksonville is in first right now in their division.
Houston's in first 9-5, right?
No, Jaguars, Colts, and Texans are all 8-6, three-way tie.
Oh, crazy! Wow, so this is wrong. That's crazy. Um,
Wow, 0 for 2
shout
on
out,
the on
shout
the
out
the website
Tankathon,
looks.
shout out Tankathon. Jeez, that stinks. Um, yeah, so that's wild. Good luck to the Broncos because that wild card's going to be tough. Like I said, there'll probably be one team that's 9-8, but maybe not even. Maybe it'll be ten
A
and
bunch of
seven
10
teams
and
only.
7s, yeah.
Could be two 10-7 teams from the South, and then Uh, Someone else. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you have
Not Pittsburgh. Not
the
Pittsburgh. They stink.
Pittsburgh is they
They're seven
totally
and seven
tossed their
somehow.
chances.
Somehow, but they were 7-5.
Then
Uh,
they lost to the
blown,
Patriots.
blown. They could be not a top. They could be the number one wild card team right now. Blown.
God, terrible situation there in Pittsburgh. But
Bozo. Yeah.
regardless, Bengals at 8-6. They obviously got a backup quarterback in. Texans with CJ Stroud 8-6. Colts Gardner Minshew leading the charge there 8 and
Baller.
6.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really interesting playoff stretch in these next couple weeks. So obviously an extremely important game for the Broncos. I almost said the Chargers, but they're far out
Yeah.
of it. But
Yes.
if the Broncos can get this win on Christmas Eve against the Patriots, I feel like both parties would be exiting on a pretty happy note. On one hand, you get the Denver Broncos who are bouncing back, lost to the Lions last week, 42-17. That's a pretty bad loss. You can get back in the win column, move closer to possibly qualifying for the playoffs. And if you're the Patriots, you get a better pick in the draft, which is really the goal at this point of the season because it's going to be a long shot to try and, I guess, win out here in some circumstance
Hey,
to
I'm good. I'm
make
good with
yourselves
two.
look better.
One or two. That's all
I'm
I
good, but
need.
yeah, I'll
I
take a
don't
top
ask
two
for
pick.
much. Just losing.
Now, speaking of the draft, Chandler, God forbid the Patriots don't get those top two picks in the draft, their whole plan will probably change.
Yep.
So I think it's worth taking a look at Rome Odunze, a wide
Yep.
receiver out of Washington. Why don't you walk us through for your rookie preview this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So Roma Dunze is a 6'3", 215 wide receiver out of Washington. He's a big body, and he was a high school sprinter. So this past offseason, he ran a 4.34 40, and at 6'3", that is dangerous. I think with a little bit of muscle that he's put on since then, it'll probably be a lot closer to a 4.37, maybe a 4.39, but that's still sub 4.4 speed at a very nice height. So he's going to be a big stretch player who's going to be able to get you some high contest point balls. He's made Michael Penix Jr. a lot better than he actually is, in my opinion. I don't think that Michael Penix Jr. is an especially great quarterback. He'll maybe be fine at the next level because he's very accurate, but everything else he does is really bailed out by Adunze being an above average route runner and just bailing him out of positions where he throws a ball where only one person can catch it, which is what you want to do, of course. But normally it'll be, half the time they'll catch it, half the time they don't. Adunze's catching that ball 9 of every 10 times. And it just makes Penix's stats look really good, makes him look awesome. He's probably, like I've been talking about in the past, through talking about Malik Neighbors, through talking about Penix. He's going to be that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, probably taken around pick 12, maybe. I think he's going to be wide receiver 3 at the end of the day, but it's still very to be determined. Um, it would be interesting if we traded back, if we were somehow get to like 4, because if you can still take Marvin Harrison Jr., you take Marvin Harrison Jr. If you can get 1 or 2, you take the quarterbacks. But if you get to like 4 somehow, God forbid, that's the situation where you start thinking about maybe trading back and then looking at one of these wide receivers in that 10 range and try to accumulate some assets.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be an interesting stretch for the rest of this year. Obviously, Odunse, a very interesting piece that could possibly end up in New
Yeah.
England, like we said, if plans change. Obviously, we hope that things keep going on the track that they have, and Patriots can clinch a top two pick in the NFL
Yep.
draft this upcoming year. But it's
Keep an
going to
eye
be
keep an
interesting.
eye on him in the college football playoff as well. I believe that they have Michigan. I think they have Michigan in the semifinal. That should be a good game.
Yeah, I think
Good
you're
tape
right.
for him.
Big game upcoming, but a bigger game for the Patriots on Christmas Eve, Chandler.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we walk through our keys? I'll throw mine up first. I mean, as much as we kind of want them to not achieve these keys, at one hand, you got to kind of get these three things done, in our opinion, if you want to get the win against the Broncos. So, starting off, my first key Mike Gesicki, Pharaoh Brown, both of those guys need to step up big time in this game. It's not looking like Hunter Henry's going to play. Obviously, like we said at the top of the episode, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games for Henry. He's been a huge piece of this offense ever since Zappy took over, kind of resorting back to that role that he had earlier in the year. So, a very big moment for these tight ends to step up, God forbid, which is looking like the more likely case now that Hunter Henry doesn't play. Second up, you got to spread the ball around. Last week against the Chiefs, We saw Bailey Zappi getting a good amount of wide receivers and talent on the offensive side of the ball involved. Kevin Harris, Devontae Parker, Ezekiel Elliott, Pop Douglas. The list goes on of different, I guess, offensive weapons that got a piece of the ball. So if you can spread that talent around, have everybody have their moment of the half or the game rather, you might get a better result if you can kind of give people their own moments to shine. Because the fact of the matter is, there's not really a single piece on this offense that can carry us to the win. So you got to spread the ball around. Last but not least, you got to pressure Russell Wilson. Our pass rush has been great this year. We saw last week against Mahomes, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. The second we were getting to him, he was starting to make mistakes. Obviously, that'll be tough if Barmore takes a seat this week. So if you want to win, you got to hope Barmore gets back into the lineup. But regardless, you got to hope that your front seven really steps up. The Patriots are lucky that they have a deep front seven. So God forbid some of these guys don't suit up. They'll have, I guess, more guys to fill into those gaps and put some pressure on Russell Wilson because that's going to be a huge part of this game. Chandler, let's hear your 3 keys for the Patriots Christmas Eve matchup this Sunday.
All right. So the first one that I've got is one that I seem to have every week, and they seem to not do it. And that's probably one of the big reasons we're losing. We need Demario Douglas to get a lot of touches. I'm going to quantify it. I've said 10 in the past. I'm going to quantify it at 8+ this time. If we can get 8+ touches with all of our important weapons injured, banged up, or not playing at all, we need him to have the ball in his hands. That's going to be very important. Second of which, Zappi needs to get the ball out quick. An interesting report came out a couple days ago talking about Trent Brown's infatuation, I guess, with Malik Cunningham and how he feels as though he wasn't given the proper chance. Somebody asked him, Sophie Weller is the reporter, saying, do you feel that Malik Cunningham should have gotten a chance this season? He said, absolutely everybody on the team did. Zappi needs to get the ball out quickly because, frankly, he's not going to create plays like Malik Cunningham can. So get the ball out quickly, especially with Trent Brown and Connor McDermott both being injured. A really banged up line. Of course, Cole Strange went down last game. This is a killed offensive line. We need to get the ball out quickly. Don't let them get after us. And third, this is something that we've done really effectively this year, but I want us to keep doing it, especially with all of these injuries. Stop the run. I am worried without Barmore in the middle, even though we do have a very deep line. We haven't gotten a lot of pressure on the passing game. So we're going to need them to have to run and stop and get some coverage sacks. Coverage sacks going to be really important. So I guess that's kind of 4 keys. Give you an extra bonus one. Merry Christmas.
Well, Chandler, before we move into our score predictions, I just thought of a huge storyline that was coming out of last week's Patriots versus Chiefs game. A supposed Deflategate
Oh
in the
my God,
first half.
yes. Yeah.
Can't believe we didn't touch on this.
The
Balls were
kickers.
supposedly
Yeah, the K
below.
balls.
Yeah, they were below two
Two,
and a half
2 pounds.
PSI.
Two
Yeah,
pounds below or something.
something crazy like that. NFL is declining a comment on it right now. Deflategate was fake in the first place.
Yeah.
So screw the NFL. Always
Sorry it's cold.
trying to
Sorry
make
it's
us
cold up
lose.
here.
Yeah,
Boo-hoo.
it wasn't even that cold.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. Yeah.
That's the refs need to be on top of that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's disappointing. But
Yeah.
regardless, Patriots getting screwed, whether it's in um AFC championship type caliber teams, or it's a 3-10 team playing the Chiefs that
Yeah.
was a flex game out of prime time.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Chad Ryland still missed a 42-yarder or whatever it was.
well,
So,
that was supposedly the blame. Everybody was like, "Oh, that's why he missed," because
of
Butker also
course.
missed a kick. But
Yeah.
regardless, I don't really see. I mean, I don't really know the dynamics of it. I mean, it
I
was
mean,
more in
it
a.
does matter because
It
the ball
does.
needs to be inflated for the kicker to really explode their foot off the ball. That is very important. But also they won. I don't care. It
Chad Ryland would
somebody
probably miss a field goal with a deflated
Yeah,
ball anyway.
exactly.
So,
With a properly inflated ball. Somebody made a
yeah.
mistake. If somebody did it intentionally, you know what? Shout out us for having the desire to win that badly. I don't
Wow.
actually mean that, of course, but um ugh, this team stinks. It doesn't matter. Um Fine us $1,000. Fine us $100,000. I don't care. Just don't take our draft picks, please. We need them.
Speaking of scores and the team not doing well, Chandler, I have a feeling that both of our score predictions this week are going to be in the same kind of ball category, I guess, of resorting to a Patriots loss. But I'll start off. Pretty close game I have listed on Christmas Eve. I have the Broncos taking the win 24-20 over the New England Patriots. Chandler, what do you have?
I've been vacillating a lot for this game, actually, because this feels like the kind of game that the Patriots would just win because they're the Patriots.
I'd be really
However,
upset in that case.
however, I walked into this episode thinking I was going to pick the Patriots to win 24-17. However, I remembered the Broncos coach is Sean Payton, and he's actually a good coach, as opposed to a lot of the NFL that has had really poor head coaching this season. So, for that reason, I'm going to give the Broncos a 27-17 win.
Thank God, because if the Patriots win this game, it'll officially be a very sad Christmas for many Patriots fans, as that will
Yeah.
cast us even further from clinching a top 2 pick in this year's draft. But regardless, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at @the.pylon. That's going to be where the updates go up as to when this reaction episode is going to go up. It may be Christmas Eve after the game. It may be 3 days after Christmas. I have no idea. We'll see how it goes. But regardless, stay tuned next week. We'll have a full reaction episode for this Patriots Broncos game. Everybody have a happy holiday. Enjoy the game the best you can on Christmas Eve. And we'll see you all next week with a full reaction to Patriots and Broncos.